Good morning, good morning to everyone. It's so exciting to be here with you this morning on, oh gosh, we are just going forward in our days on our challenge. I'm just excited. 10th, we are, can you believe it? Now we started on the 7th and it is now the 10th. Are you tracking yourself? Are you taking it step by step? Are you going day by day? Are you watching what you are putting in? What's on your plate? And I hope each day has been a blessing to your spirit, your mind, and of course, your body. I am Dr. Marlene, and I'm pleased to open up today as we journey forth. We just had a great session yesterday with Dr. Shad. Um, like Dr. Shad. I am so bad with names. I can never say the second. Him Setter, PhD. Negative self-talk and how to change it. Look at that, how his book coordinates with my nails this morning. I mean, this whole thing about the journey we get caught up in the programming, someone else's programming. And for years, we don't know. We absorb it through our eyes, through our ears, through our taste buds, through our smell. We get this, this programming. And we're just going through life and we're not understanding why we can't get over a hurdle. And you know, it's that programming that keeps us blocked. And when we put in, oh, as he shared, when we change that programming to new talk, new words that we not so much just an affirmation or affirmation, and programming. It has to go beyond that. It has to become your everyday talk that you have with yourself. And you know what I love about his book. It's like the fact that it brings the messages that it's there, like tell a vision. It's telling a vision, it's telling someone else's vision, and we sit there and we absorb it. Now, I'm not knocking any shows or anything, but we watch some of these reality shows and we absorb that into our programming, and all of a sudden our behavior becomes like that, where we have to confront people, or we're throwing things, or we're jumping up on desks or up on chairs, or we're trying to make ourselves be heard or make ourselves larger than life. Did you ever think, where did that come from all of a sudden? It's the way we've been programming by watching some of these television, telling someone else's vision, and we we observe it, and then we absorb it into our programming. And the beautiful thing about it, no matter how many years, whether it's a year or 10, that programming can be changed. And today we're going to talk about how do we deal with grief, mourning, bereavement when those things happen. How do we get sidelined by them? We get sidelined by illness. What do we do when we're sidelined by finances, or we're sidelined by things that are going on that someone has told us? I mean, COVID, for example, you know we're sidelined by COVID right now, if you're not aware, because every time you turn on your television, your radio, you even on your phones, we have this message of depression, a depressing message, sorrow, grief, loss, and all of a sudden we're beginning to feel paralyzed and trapped. Do we vaccinate or we not vaccinate? We lost someone, so then we run and vaccinate. We're not sure because we lose someone to vaccination. Do we not do it? So much of that is going on. We're now become paralyzed to make a decision that's the best for us. So I think we're going to talk about that today, if I'm not correct. We're going to talk about grief, loss, bereavement, a little bit of what happens when you get sidelined and how you overcome. So Pastor Tori is going to join me today. A few more of our members. I see Deborah out there is going to join me today, and we're going to talk about that. Um, Hello, ladies. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
How about if I unmute, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. How are you, ladies, this beautiful day?
Blessed this morning. I tell you, it's been a rough couple of days now, so I am
Yeah.
blessed.
Okay. Thanking God
I,
for you, Marlena. Thanking God for
Yes,
seeing you this
yes,
morning. Glory to
yes,
God. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You too, Deborah. We're
yes,
thanking God for everybody that's going to join that may not be here yet.
yes,
Um, so this is, I think, is a very important conversation that we're having this morning. You see, I'm moving things around a little bit because I do want to play some of Shad's
yeah,
message from yesterday. And
yes,
so I was setting it up. So you're going to hear a little bit past what I want to play. But I think both of them actually are pretty important. I got my natural going today, you all. Okay. And
beautiful.
pat
Go
it
ahead.
down, pat it
Lord,
down, pat it down, pat it down. You know, you go to this side. I'm trying to get to this side, and I go to this side automatically because you got to remember that the camera is the opposite side of what you're touching. But I forget
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
So you heard Dr. Marlena talking about Shad yesterday in programming, and I want to just play just a tad bit of that as we segue into what we're going to talk about today and even later. So, did you want to say anything, Deborah? Before you shaking there, Deborah? You moving? We are
I can't, I can't help, I can't help
okay.
it.
Yes, you
Can't help
can.
this.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Don't never say what you get. Programming, dear. Programming.
Programming.
Programming. Programming. Yes, you can. See, look at you. You're looking good. You're looking good. Okay, so
Okay.
here are some of Shad's. You look beautiful though, Deborah. Really, you do. So just know that. But here's some of. I'm going to push play on some of his what he talked about yesterday. Wow, wow. Because we were never meant to fail. Here was the question. I thought of it.
Ooh,
If you're practicing positive self-talk and you have someone in your ear that's consistently negative or speaking against what you're telling yourself, how do you suggest you overcome that?
You're talking about half the population. People who have
yeah,
negative people around them. And we all do. Um, yeah. The answer to that question is the strongest programs
Mm,
always win.
wow.
So if
mm,
your programs, if your self-talk is the right kind, if it's strong and positive and optimistic, and you take ownership of it, if your programs are strong, then the negative person who's nearby or talking to you, their programs aren't going to be able to override yours. That's the key. Make sure that your programs are always stronger. And we can do everything, we can work and do everything we can to help the people around us. But there are many people who maybe people at work or people that we don't have any direct contact with other than we their negatives could rub off on us. And don't worry about them. It's not that we're not compassionate. We are. But if you can't change their programs, make sure that your programs are positive, healthy, and very, very strong. And yours will win out. Yours will take care of you. That's what they're designed to do in the first place.
Mm, wow.
mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to take my cue from you and your wife as you listen to it. She heard it and it affected her too. It impacted her life as well. So I'm going to take your cue. I'm going to take my cue from that, Dr. Shad Helmstead, and I'm going to just play positive self-talk in different areas and just let it flow through the house so that if there's any negativity, that it'll automatically rub off on them while it's working on me too. So thank you so much. I think we can get in touch with you by doing shadhelmstetter.com.
Did I miss it?
And I love your self-talk plus. Is that accessible by way of shadhelmstetter.com or is there
Yeah,
uh
so the best way to do that is to just go to Self Talk Plus, SELFTALKPLUS, selftalkplus.com, and you can subscribe to the Self Talk service
Yeah.
that's Institute, and that's where all of the self-talk, the recorded self-talk programs can be found. And I absolutely have to add, because I think it's such a great idea, you can listen free for 30 days. And that's enough time to get a feel for it. That may not change your entire life, but that's 30 days of listening to self-talk will certainly let you know whether it's going to work for you or not.
I'd like to say you're only doing this because they're on our program, but that wouldn't be the truth. But I still am thankful that you're doing that. When they listen, should they choose one course for 30 days, or should they go in and out of different courses?
You can listen up to 3 different programs at a time, but I would focus on the thing that's most important. Let's say it's self-esteem. So you go to selftalkplus.com and you scroll down, and there you find the program called Positive Self-Talk for Self-Esteem. And just plan on listening to that as your number 1 program for 3 to 4 weeks. And then you can have a second program, or you can listen to as many as you want, but it works best to limit that to about 3 focus areas at a time. In other words, don't try to change everything at once. Just do it step by step. Start with 1 and then maybe a couple of secondary programs that you also want to work on.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Shad. I look forward to us continuing to do some work together. I look forward to the times that we can literally hold conferences and help people to really understand the value of who they are. And as you said, that we were all born to win, and but just some of us have accepted defeat. And the way we change that is by how we're engaging in our own self-talk. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to hopefully hear from you again before we finish this 15-day challenge. But if not, we are thankful, and we're going to definitely replay this because people need to hear this. You said it. Half of the world is affected by so much negativity that you seem to not be able to lift your head up above the water. And we definitely want to be able to make an impact on that and let people know that you can be successful, you can survive, and you can actually not just survive, but thrive. So thank you so much, Dr. Helmstetter. Any last words?
No, other than thank you. I've enjoyed the time with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Likewise. Well, God bless you, sir. And I'm so glad that you decided to follow the course that was set before you. And I'm so glad you had that time alone because it is actually blessing all of us. So thank you so much. And I'm not going to hold you any longer. Have a wonderful day. And tell Tracy I said thank her. She's a blessing. Okay.
I will, and she is, and have an incredible day.
Thank you. Okay, I missed it. Let me go back a little bit further. I'm sorry. I thought I had it at the right spot, but I did not. So you ladies talk for just a second.
Well,
I'm going to phase out and I'll come right back.
While you're doing that, let me just reinforce some of what he was saying in there. This is his book.
Oh, cool.
If you have a place to start here. This is, say, hey, I'm not a reader, become a reader. This is negative self-talk and how to change it. It will start you on understanding that how you absorb information and why programming is so important, to realize that everything in our lives is programming. The difference between 2 individuals growing up in the same environment, under the same influence, and what that becomes and how that looks is programming, what you absorb from it. I know, for example, there's a study out there. There were 2 brothers who grew up, and one became an attorney, and the other was a serial prisoner, if you will. Serial, I don't know if that's the right word, but it was. And they asked the 2, what was it that made you choose your path? And the successful attorney said, it was the way I grew up. It was my environment. And then you ask the brother who was the prisoner. I'm not saying being in prison itself is a bad thing. It's not a good choice that was made. So I'm not looking at the person, but I'm looking at what the person said. He said, it was my environment. It was how I grew up. So now they're saying the same thing. They grew up in the same environment. What was the difference? And it was how they received the programming from their environment that made the difference. And that not only how they received that program, what they told themselves about the programming is what made the difference. The self-talk part of it. You heard him just say there's negative, there's going to every arena we enter, no matter how positive you are, there's going to be negativity in there. Oh, she didn't say it right. Oh, I don't like her hair. For me, it was too fat, too thin. You're not this. You're not. It was those kind of conversations that led me on a journey. Why? Because I was listening to that programming. So for me, we're focusing on 15 days of weight loss or gain, depending on where you are on the spectrum. I started tapping into Dr. Shad Helmstetter's 365 days of positive self-talk for weight loss. You heard him say on his, and I have the app on my phone too. I started with the app, and it's a series that teaches you how to talk to yourself in the positive. And I'm not just talking affirmation. Affirmations are great and you should have them. Affirmations are great and you should have them. But I'm talking about the self-talk that changes your programming. So when you go into the sea of negativity, it's the holiday season, and I know I keep harping on this one, but you're at the table. You've been on your journey for 364 days, and you've been, since last Christmas or New Year's, you've been like, I'm going to change how I eat, and you've been doing it. You've been maintaining your weight. You've been making healthy choices. And you say, you know what? It's Thanksgiving, or it's now Christmas. I'm going to have that slice of whatever pie, and you go for to reach for it, and usually it's someone closest to us, our mom or our sister, and they'll say, "Oh, have you ever thought about Weight Watchers? Maybe Jenny Craig?" And you get that stab, because you've been doing your thing for 360 days, 364 days, and they come at you. Now they're coming from a place of love, thinking they're trying to make you be well informed or wise. But what happens in those seconds, that old programming flies back in, and it pierces you, because you've been working hard at this. And all of a sudden the old tapes begin to play, because you believe from the programming that you haven't made a win or had a gain. And that's when you can say, no, well, I've been reprogramming this. I've been teaching myself, and I've been talking positive to myself, that I choose what I eat and what I weigh, and that no one else outside of me will dictate what I do and how I do it, because I've already decided. And let me tell you, it is a win-win-win for you as the individual. Pastor?
Amen, Dr.
And
Molina. I brought you up yesterday as we were talking about
mhm,
self-talk and how
yes,
you
yes,
use the weight self-talk. And
yes,
actually I got
yes.
some books here I want to really introduce you all to as well as we're
Mhm.
going through what we're going through right now. But this here is 365. Wait a minute, let me make sure it's the right one. Well, this is 365 days of positive self-talk. That's one of
Self-talk,
them. That's by
weight
him.
talk,
And
self-talk.
that's what I was getting right. I'm got it upside
Yeah,
down. But this
yeah.
here, 365 days of positive self-talk with weight
Weight
loss.
loss,
So
yes.
what he's given us, and you're going to hear him say it here, is that it's based on not just trying to figure it out, but it's
Mhm.
literally based on scientific fact.
Scientific fact,
And so
yes,
here we are. Here we are. So I've mentioned you, Dr. Marlena, talking about the weight loss
yes,
track and how it
yes.
helped you in other areas. And he also said yesterday that it's absolutely going to help you all across the board. So
Yep.
this is a little bit further out, but it's still important to listen to. So
Next 30
here's
days. And that makes a lot of sense, because if you had someone go around with you and write down or record everything you said for 30 days, they couldn't record what you thought, but at least they could record the self-talk that you said out loud. If they
Mhm.
wrote that down and they printed it out, and then at the end of 30 days, you took a yellow highlighter and you circled everything that you said repeatedly, that was repeated most often, you would have a perfect picture of what your self-talk is today. So that would give you a really good idea of what area what things do I want to change? What do I want to work on most? You can do that by monitoring, and monitoring itself is a habit. Listening to yourself is a habit most of us don't have, but it's an easy habit to adopt. Write some notes to yourself, perhaps, so that every morning you let yourself know at the beginning of the day that today is the day I'm going to hear what I say. And then, throughout that 30 days, you'll be able to start doing the second step, and that is edit. Every single individual has the ability to change what they're about to think or what they're about to say. And when you're about to say something that is negative or harmful or works against you, stop it, turn it around, and say the opposite. Now that might sound at first like you're lying to yourself. Let's say that you've been saying for years, I can't remember names. I have a terrible memory. I can never remember people's names. So that's what you've been saying to yourself for many, many years. And then you meet somebody and you want to remember that person's name. 10 seconds later, you've forgotten their name and you're going through the alphabet trying to remember what their name is. And your brain is saying, you've been telling me for the last 30 years that you can't remember names. I'm just doing what you told me to do. So the next time you want to remember somebody's name, instead of saying, oh, I have the world's worst memory, turn it around and say, you know what, I've got a great memory. I've got a good memory. I'm good at remembering names. I like people. I'm interested in them. I pay attention to them, and I remember their names. I've got a great memory. Now, when you first start saying that, you'll think, I'm lying to yourself. But no, you're not lying to yourself. You've been lying to yourself for the last decade, most of your life. You're setting the record straight. You're turning it around. You're changing it. And if you were to do just that one thing, I'm great at remembering names. I'm good at people's names. You start changing that to the right kind of self-talk that tells you what you can do instead of what you can't do. What you find is a couple of weeks later, suddenly, that name comes right back to you, and it's there. You were never able to do that before. That's because your brain is now just starting to wire those new messages in. The new program is being repeated often enough that the brain actually begins to wire it in permanently. Well, if you can do that with something as simple or difficult as remembering a name, imagine what that same process will have to do with it when it comes to how financially successful you are, or how good you are at relationships, or what your self-esteem really can be and what it is, what it should be, living up to that potential you were born with. Imagine how you talked about being organized. Imagine what can happen when your brain finally gets the messages that tells you, I'm a really organized person. I like to put things in their place. I'm organized and in control of my life. You start to get more organized. Your brain is doing it for you. And so just imagine the many areas of your life that will react to the same kind of positive programming just by changing some of your self-talk.
Wow. So you seem to be inside my head. I find you very fascinating. I find the work that you're doing is exhilarating as well. My question was going to be, and you kind of already tapped into it already. I was going to say, so you're telling me that my financial portfolio I can increase my financial portfolio by what I'm speaking to myself. I can become more organized by what I'm saying, my self-talk. I can really accomplish my goals by the self-talk that I have going on in my head. I can actually lose weight based on the self-talk and have better relationships based on the self-talk. And I'm just going over some of, I know the programs that you have in Self-Talk Plus that I find really, really fascinating. And that's what you're saying as well, is that I can actually upscale my life based on how I talk to myself.
Yes, that's true. And I know when you say that, it might sound, some people might think, well, come on, Shad, you got to be just overstating someone who is failing and struggling, and their life is just filled with difficulties, and they never seem to come out on top. And listen to that person talk. Listen to their self-talk. Then find somebody else, a friend or someone you know, who's doing really well, and their life is working, and they're on top, in tune, in touch, and going for it, and you can tell it. It's evident in everything in their life. And listen to that person. Listen to their self-talk. And the two individuals, one failing so badly, and one succeeding so well, their self-talk is the opposite kind of self-talk. That alone should be an indication that there's something here to look at.
Yeah.
And then when you add to that everything we're talking about today is based on really good research in the field of neuroscience, that it's just based on how the brain works. And because we know that, and because we can see we can hear with our own ears the difference between the self-talk of someone who's doing poorly and the self-talk of someone who's doing really well, since we can hear that, then it begins to make sense that, this isn't just some pie-in-the-sky hopeful motivational idea or something. This is a newer, updated understanding of how the brain really works and what we can do with it once we know that.
Wow. Have you explored or intend to explore the area of grief? I know that, there are steps that you go through according to the Kubler-Ross model of grief and walking through that. But is it possible, or have you explored the potential that though you go through those steps, you may be able to go through it a little bit better based on your self-talk?
Absolutely. And I don't want to, we could talk about that subject in great length, but I will say that the difference between grief that makes life almost impossible to endure and grief that ends up being healthy and good is you can tell which it is by asking yourself the question, am I in control of my grief? Or is my grief in control of me? And what that would reveal, studying that question, what that reveals is, do I have programs that are strong and optimistic and that allow me to look forward in spite of the grief? Or do I have programs of defeat and loss that I can never overcome? The person who has the stronger programs in the positive will still go through the grief. Now, it will have its pain and it will have its benefits. And that person will come out on the other side much better and having learned from life.
Wow. I tell you, you blow my mind with the things that you say. And there you have it. That was Shad Helmstetter talking about grief and the programming that we have in our head. And understand, nobody is saying that you won't go through the Kubler-Ross model of grief, because there is a model of it, and we understand that we go through those things. And I have that model right here before me. I want to let you know about. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. I had dropped the paper. Sorry, but there is denial, there is anger, there is bargaining, there is depression, and there is acceptance. So there's 5 stages, according to her, of grief. But I wanted to present that what Shad Helmstetter said, because I think it's important that we understand that though we are struggling and going through, the process of those 5 areas, according to the grief model, the stronger program will help you survive it. And I'm not saying, please don't misunderstand that I am diminishing the pain of grief or actually mourning, because I am not.
but I am saying that you still have to live behind that. And so we want to give you some things to help you to survive those storms, because come on, have not we all had them? Yes. We all go through it. We all go through it. But how do we come out of it? How do we uh, handle this as we are maneuvering through the stages of grief? And I love what he said, which is why I wanted to replay it. That if your programming is focused on loss and focused on the pain of what you're going through, you're going to go through it in a harder way. I'm not telling you to diminish the value or the loss of your life. I'm not telling you that that diminishes that. I am asking you though, are you in control of your grief, or is your grief in control of you? And that's what he said. And not only that, I am also asking you this question: what would your loved one want for you to do? Would your loved one want you to stop living and just, say, I can't survive anymore because they're not in my life? That's why I added your new normal to the topic or the subject, because I had a friend who was a grief counselor actually, and she said to me, once my husband passed, she said to me, she said, you now have a new normal. She says this life never goes back to the same thing. It's now a new normal for you. And I realized that she's right. Now, I've used different things to help me through grief. And I just want to, point out some of those. But before I even do that, Marlene, you want to add anything? You're mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Famous mute button, right? I'm in total alignment with what everything you've said. One of the things I do too in my practice, my ministry, is grief and bereavement, and how not to stay stuck there. That you, like you said, it's going to happen, and it's not only you're talking natural. I'm talking job loss. Loss when your children start. They you don't lose them, but that so now your nest is empty because now you have a new normal because now they're out of the house, and you still grieve for them because they're not there any longer. Physically they're still alive, but that's a loss, and recognizing how we all go through that process. And I use the model you said as well, of going through the grief cycle and not getting stuck there, because that's really where the pain comes. When you can't release. One of the things we're talking about, right? How do you release? You don't release your loved one ever. You hold them here, but how do you move on? And don't, because life will make us feel guilty about moving on. But when God, when He finished that thing, they're rejoicing. They hit their goal in Jesus' name, right? And He's, servant, well done. It's now, if He woke you up this morning, you won. We won. And He didn't just wake us up so we're winners because we're alive, but He woke us up because He has more for us to do. And that's where we have to get away from that stuck part of the grief, of the bereavement, and move on into, how do I serve my purpose so I can win like they won? Yeah.
Amen. Go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah. Also, the thing about grieving is you go into, like, it seems like a sinkhole because you're so lonely, but you really aren't lonely. You just think you are. The mind thing. Because what you have to do is get outside of your head and move forward. Because if you get outside of your head and don't think about that, I know the person will always be with you in your heart. That won't change. But you have to keep moving forward, because if they were here, they wouldn't want you to be stagnant, like you're in a body and you can't move, because you can move. You can help yourself, and you can help the people around you, because you're not the only one that's grieving. You're just the only one that you see. You got to think about other people that might be part of your dynamic, and move forward and think positive
and you have to be positive. And as you're becoming more positive in the things you're doing, then it'll get better. It'll get easier. It'll never go away, but it will get easier because you do have a new norm and you have a new life, and you have to think like that, because the person who it is, whether they were a spouse or a child or a close friend or just a relative, they would want you to move forward because they know the kind of person you are. And you can't let other people come into your sphere or in your realm and tear you down, make you think negative, because you're not a negative person. Remember that. You're always going to be a positive person because that's the way you feel. That's all I want to.
And he talks about, again, programming, and that programming helps you to survive difficult times. And so when we look at the different stages of grief, we talk about denial. You may look at it and say, I don't understand why this happened. This makes no sense. And especially if it's a traumatic thing, or somebody was healthy and all of a sudden now they're gone. You're saying, I don't understand what happened. It just makes no sense to me that this person is gone. In the case of my husband went to the hospital because he had a stomach ache. And he was there. He ended up going through different places for 7 months. He never returned home. Well, guess what? I was denied. Once he passed, I didn't want to face it. I didn't even. First of all, I was in shock because I didn't expect him to go. He was. I mean, he just ate some chili. He cooked some chili, ate some chili, and from that he started having pain in his stomach. And if you know my husband's chili was phenomenal. My husband made the best chili. I just didn't decide to eat any that night because it was late. He said, "Well, let me get some of this chili." But in his case, even if I had eaten it, the circumstances would have been different because it was pancreatitis. It was his system and how he dealt with the systematic eating of the chili. And for whatever reason, things went awry in his body. So don't you think I was afraid and I was confused and I was shocked? You know, I mean, he was in intensive care from eating chili earlier that evening within hours. He was in intensive care.
And don't forget fear. Fear
And I
happens in
was
denial.
That is correct.
The
I
fear.
was afraid. Yes.
Afraid.
I
Yes.
was I was I was like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?"
What's gonna
I
happen?
didn't
Yes.
know. Fear is really the unknown.
Right.
Having to deal with the unknown, the
Yes.
uncertainties. And I was like, "Oh my God." Yes, I was absolutely fearful to see him go from being standing up, viable, moving well, to now he was incapacitated
Yeah.
within minutes, within
Yes.
hours. He was
Yes.
incapacitated. So yes, there was a great fear that existed as well with this whole scenario.
Because
And
fear
that's
makes
just,
us feel, also fear makes us feel hopeless. Because
yeah,
we are so used to being in control, of the situation. And now all of a sudden we're presented with something we can't control. So now we have that fear of, oh, I can't control this. What's next? What happens? Yeah.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
don't have a clue.
No.
We don't have a clue what's going to happen next. We're
Yes.
just, surviving the moment. And then
Mm-hmm.
after you get through denial, you get to anger. And
Anger.
now you're
Ooh,
frustrated
frustrated.
and you're irritated
Yeah.
and you're
Anxious.
dealing with anxiety now.
Anxious. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Now
Yeah.
you're like, oh my, I don't believe you. And you know what? I think it was uh Focus James that said it. She was angry with God.
Yeah.
And people say you can't be getting angry with God. Well, you do get
You
angry.
do. You do.
Yes. It's not unusual to be angry with God. God, why'd you take him? God,
Mm-hmm.
why did you let this happen? I don't
Yeah.
understand. He was a good person. Why,
Mm-hmm.
God? And you're
Yep.
frustrated because, just like Dr. Marlena said, now on the other side of fear, not knowing what to do, you're so used to being in control. And now you're frustrated because there's nothing that you can do.
Nothing you can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the anxiety. Let's define what anxiety really is. Anxiety it's about the future and what's going to happen. And because we don't have that type of vision, right? We can't see what's going to. Now we base it on what has happened to others. And then all of a sudden we get like, oh my, how will I handle that if it happens to me? Oh, it's happening to me. How do I? And you get your blood, and anxiety then becomes a rising of your blood pressure. You make yourself sick in your physical body because now you're on that you're in that the last time you saw someone get into this state of not knowing what to do, what happened to them may have been catastrophic, and you're like, oh, that happened to me, and what if, and you get all in your head this mind trash about what if, and
And
you make yourself sick from that story you begin telling yourself about what if.
self-talk. And now there's also part of that is now you're angry with people. You
Yeah.
start to redirect that anger to other people. You start to take out your frustration, your anger, your anxieties on those
Mm-hmm.
that are closest to you. And
Mm-hmm.
you're redirecting this because you need to get this out and you don't know how. So when people say the smallest things, you find yourself going off on the handle. Or somebody says one little wrong thing, and it could have been the greatest intention, but because you're trapped into the cycles of fear and that anger, you blow up.
Yeah.
And so now you're redirecting your focus of, so you don't want, because you can't hold it inside, because as Dr. Marlena outlined or said, when you're holding it inside, now there's pain and you get sick.
Get
You're
sick.
getting sick because of, you're dealing with something that's volatile and you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to, bottle it up, and it's like Mount Everest. And when the lava erupts, you can't hold it in. It's coming out one way or another.
Right, true. And there's two other under anger, and I follow the same model that we're talking about, the
Mhm.
Kubler-Ross recycle model. But there's two other things under anger that we don't address, and that is embarrassment and shame. See,
Mhm.
because again, those things they're there under the surface that we carry around, and the embarrassment is an emotion, right? And when we get into an embarrassed stage of life, we tend to start feeling guilty about something. And what happens if we stay too long in guilt? Maybe we didn't say the right thing to someone, or we didn't show a lot of love, and now they're gone. And then we feel bad about that. And then all of a sudden that guilt, that embarrassment starts. Then the guilt comes in, and that guilt leads to shame. That now I'm an embarrassment. I somehow I am less than. I am, and that comes into place, and we have to be careful again that we don't stay in that emotion too long. That we don't stay into that emotion too long. So we have to be aware of our feelings, and remember everything we do is based on every decision we make, every action we take is based on our emotions and how we back them up with logic and reason.
Yes. Amen. I'm sorry about that, you all. Somebody was calling me. Let me turn my phone off. So we won't that won't happen again. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very important. Getting embarrassed, and then you start thinking, what did I do? What did
Mm-hmm.
I do too,
What did I do?
for
Mm-hmm.
this to happen? What could I have
Mm-hmm.
done differently?
Right.
And you start looking to see where you were at fault. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next one is bargaining, and
Mm-hmm.
now that's struggling to find meaning out of it, and now you're starting to reach out to others and tell your story. But the thing about that is, people really don't know how to handle this, so they want you to stop talking about it because they think that's the way to help you, is to not
Mm-hmm.
talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't realize is, again, you got stuff going on inside of you and it
Mm-hmm.
needs to come out. So for those that are even working with people that are dealing with loss, don't tell them, be strong. Don't talk about it. Just hold on. You don't have to talk about it, and don't shun them away. And they don't say don't talk about it, but they shun you away to stop you from talking
Mm-hmm.
about it. And I'm going to encourage you, talk about it as often as you want to,
as often as you feel you need to, because that's helping you to process it. So now you're dealing with the bargaining. And then you're also saying things like, well, why did you take him and not me?
Yeah.
Why did he have to leave and I'm still
Mhm.
here?
Yeah.
Why didn't they love me enough?
Mhm.
Why didn't you love me enough, God? I
Yeah.
needed them. And if
Yeah.
it's the case of somebody leaving you but has not transitioned to glory, then it's, why wasn't I good enough for them? What
Mhm.
should I have done? What
Yeah.
can I do to make them stay? And
Yeah.
so now you're
That's right.
stepping outside of who you are, trying to rationalize how you need to become somebody different because you
Mhm.
need to keep somebody in your life.
Mhm.
No, that's not the way it's going to work for you. That bargaining tool, you may get by in the case of somebody that's just walked out of your life. You may
Mhm.
get by for a moment,
Yeah.
but eventually that bargain, that sale is going to be over, and they're going to go
Mhm.
right back to what it was that they want. And Dr.
Mhm.
Karen Scott said it in one of our sessions another time. She said, it's not that there's something wrong for you about you. You're just not the right fit for them. So
Mhm.
take the onus off of it's something wrong with me,
Yeah.
and recognize that we just don't fit together.
That's right. That's right.
So that
Right.
bargaining happens next. And
And
go ahead, Dr.
and recognize the signs when you get into that bargaining stage. It starts being, you start feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you are doing too much. You need to look at what you're doing, because what happens, you keep throwing things in so you can stay busy, and then you've hit your wall. Know when you hit your wall. I mean, the other night we were going in, and I knew we were having a meeting, and I was getting close to where I was starting to hit my wall. Now, I had to recognize the signs in me. I was starting to become a little agitated. I was getting a little snippy, and that's not normally who I am. So I was getting close to my capacity. Know that, and know that in your physical and your mental body that it's going to happen. To say, hey, and what did I do? I said, hey, I gotta go. I gotta go now, because
Right.
I was getting there. And you have to start recognizing those signs for yourself. Lack of energy is another one, where you just can't. Then there's no, when I say there's no when I say lack of energy, a lack of energy where there's just like no pinpointed reason. Some of us get up before the crack of dawn, and at midnight we're still up. And if you have no energy, that's understandable. But I'm saying, if you're fresh and you just get up, and your day, and you're like, I just have no energy, I just want to sit here. Well, normally what happens when you start sitting here, you start playing those old tapes. That old programming comes in, and you start getting that frustration. You start getting that. That's where depression comes in. Um, so you have to be real mindful of that, when what those what those triggers are, that when you're in that bargaining stage of life,
Amen.
of the grief cycle.
And then the next place you go to is depression,
Mm-hmm.
where you're overwhelmed, you're feeling helpless,
Yeah.
you become hostile, and now you want to
Yeah.
run from it. Now
Yeah.
you don't want to address it. You
You want
just
to address
want
it.
to just keep doing everything, as Dr. Marlena just outlined,
Mm-hmm.
as you just finding yourself being
Yep.
busy so you don't have to
Yep.
think about it.
Yep.
You
Flight.
find
That's
ways to
flight.
drown it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
one of flight. Yeah.
Yep. You may
Yeah.
feel like you don't even want to get out of bed. You may
Yeah.
feel like okay, it's just over.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't. I can't
Mm-hmm.
move forward. But just you don't want to be around others. You don't feel like talking. You got feelings of hopelessness. You may even think about being suicidal. I
Mm-hmm.
lost them, so I don't want to be here anymore. They were the reason that I live. Well,
Yeah.
no, the reason that you live is
Ooh.
because God gave you breath.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
literally,
Yes.
these are the steps you go through, but there
Mm-hmm.
is life on the other side of it. There
Absolutely.
is there is a refreshing, a newness that comes on the other side of it. But you got to make
Absolutely.
it through these steps. You want to add anything on that, Dr. Merlin?
Yeah. The beauty of it is, there is an end to the grief cycle. And no, again, no matter where you are at this point in challenge in life, no, it's not just natural death. You have to be aware that grief comes as things end, grief begins. And then you go through the cycle. And then you get to where you're going next, Pastor Tori, into acceptance.
Acceptance. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Acceptance. And now you're recognizing that you can't stay where you are.
Yeah.
And I'm, any one of these places in this Kubler-Ross model, you
Mm-hmm.
could stay there for different periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go in and out of different ones at different
Can.
phases. So
Absolutely.
know that there is nothing that says you have to go from here to here to here. And this is going to be one day, and the next one's going to be 3 days.
Mm.
No, it's according to what you're dealing with and how you're dealing
Right.
with it.
Right.
And you may go from one extreme to the other,
Yeah.
but usually the final one is acceptance. And now you're exploring options and figuring out how you're going to live after this, how you're
You
going to
know,
move on, what are you
yeah.
going to do to make life
Absolutely. Yeah.
life again.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. One thing in a meeting we had with a group of powerful women a few years back, the leader asked us a question. Says, well, if you had a superpower, what would your superpower be? Well, number one, my superpower is that I'm a woman of God. But if I had a superpower that outside of that one that I could pick, mine was if I could just move the individual just beyond the heartbreak into the acceptance. Because see, what I've come to know, having lived on this grief cycle many times, is that the power in your purpose lives in the acceptance. See,
Mm.
that's when you know you've been through something, you've struggled and you've made it through there, to now in acceptance, you can say, okay, God, what do you have for me as my purpose? And then when you get focused on what he really has for you as your purpose, your focus, let me tell you, you take off from there and you take off running and living. No one can't tell me I didn't love, or I love still to this day, my mama Gina. I mean, 3 days old into her arms until I was 30, and God took her from me. And so it's been 27 years of, I used to practice going home how I was going to feel if he called her. I was going to need back in them days, people were taking volumes. I'm going to need a volume and I'm going to do this. And God said to me, why are you doing that? She's still here. Love her while she's here. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, that's a novel idea. So I loved her while she was here. So when he did call her home, yes, I felt it. Yes, I felt it because she was no longer physically there. And that's when I learned to stop telling people you'll get over it. I don't want to ever get over a great love that I had in my life. See, but I went through my stages, and because I knew I'd shown up and given her flowers while she was alive, as I went through these stages, and I did, just like everybody else does, I didn't get hung up on any stage too long, because that's where it is. When we stick there too long is where the problems begin to fester, just like stagnant water begins to smell foul when it sits too long. But it was in that acceptance I knew that she had modeled and left a legacy for me. Now I needed to live on that legacy. To what was I going to leave as my legacy, if you will?
Wow. And
So,
that's it.
and
And
that's
their
the
legacy
acceptance stage.
continues through you. So
Continues.
now you're on legacy building, not just in your name, but in the memory of your
Yeah,
loved one.
yeah,
And so one of the things that I did was I was looking for avenues to help me because people really couldn't help me through this. It
yeah.
wasn't that they didn't want to, but they really didn't know how. And
Uh-huh.
so I began to search for methods myself to help me through the grieving process. And actually, grief is the actual hearing or knowing that the person that you love passed. But mourning is the walking it out afterwards. So
Yes.
just so
Yes.
you know that
Mm-hmm.
grief is just the initial knowing that it
Yes.
happened and
Yes.
the shock and all that associated with it. But mourning is what do you do after they're gone?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's living life afterwards. And
Yep.
so I picked up a book. This is one of the things that I picked up. It's called Healing a Spouse's Grieving Heart,
Mm-hmm.
100 Practical Ways,
Mm-hmm.
Ideas After Your Husband or Wife Dies. This book was a lifesaver for me. And let me tell you, and then I have friends, like I told you about a grief counselor, that understood that I needed help.
And she helped me to get help that I needed by putting me in a room full of grieving widows. Now, and they were at different stages in their life of grief. And so I'm so thankful for my friend who later lost her husband as well. But I'm so thankful for her because, okay. Okay. I'm so thankful for her because she was able to help me to embrace my new normal. And there were things, listen, my husband's been gone for 5 years and I still haven't gone through all the stuff in the basement. As opposed to her husband died. She went through the stuff within months. So what I'm saying to you is everybody does it differently. It doesn't make it wrong because I lingered and she moved fast. You just have your timing when you have and you know when it's right. You do it when it's right for you. But as I begin to go through this, and then I found that multiple people lost their spouses after I did. So I was able to minister to them. And believe me, I sent this book to a lot of people because this book helped me through 100 ways, ideas to work through your pain after losing your spouse. So it says spouse, but it actually works for anything. So I love this, and I definitely recommend you picking this book up. And eventually, I want to do a group of with grievers where we're going to go through this book because this book, oh my God, here
Tell
is
us the author, Tori. Tell us,
the
Pastor
author
Tori. Tell
is
us the author.
Alan D. Wall, WOLFELT. I'll put it in the chat
Okay.
after we're done. But my goodness, I started going through, and you could like, okay, I'll come back to that. But I started going through different sections of the book, and I picked out what I needed. I picked out how I needed, what I needed to do when I needed to do it. Like section number 82 says, talk out loud to your spouse. Well, I talk to my husband all the time,
Yeah.
and that was just for that one. Another one was make a list of goals, prepare yourself for the holidays, choose to memorialize your spouse in other special ways. That was important. I needed to I needed to I needed to memorialize the memory of my husband. And so literally all that I do now is catapulted or jumps off from the memory of who he was. The book that I wrote, When the Rain Falls, the Flower Blooms. This is a memorial, a tribute to the love that my husband and I had. So I began to do things. We're going to be a little bit longer with this session. I hope you all are okay. Dr. Marlena, if you need to go, okay, that's all right. I understand. But I think that we need to take and we got a session coming up at 1 o'clock. We're going to be just a little bit longer with this. And I see that Jaja is on.
Jaja is on.
Okay.
So
Deborah,
Deborah, I think
you need to
you need
probably
to
mute
probably move
because I'm getting
because I'm getting
feedback.
feedback.
When
When
I let you know, I
let you
get
know, like,
feedback. Remember, you got to get off of one when you get on the other. When you're on two different apparatuses, the computer and the phone, you're going to get the feedback. Jaja, you're turning. You want to add something, Ja? I want to hear what you have to say. I'm going to unmute you, or you can unmute. Go ahead.
You're
Go ahead.
really low. I can't hear you. Are you getting feedback? Because Stacy's listening in the living room.
I'm not getting feedback now. Not
Okay.
anymore.
It's really low for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but the volume is really low. But
is that better? Is that better?
it's still the same, but it's all right.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. First, the feedback is absolutely amazing. Blown away. Wow. Wow. You ladies have done such an amazing job and have touched on so many great topics, so many needed topics, like needed, like just so happened that today, that's Stacy, y'all. She doing things now. She about to go get the garbage cans. That's good. But anywho, like today will mark, I think it's 2 years now today's the day that I lost my sister, right? And I was just texting someone, Kelly Kell, well, she texted me to see how I was doing. And, you know, sometimes you really don't know how you're doing, or you figure out later how you were doing. Like, man, girl, you were doing this, that, and this, right? But I want to say that normally it's uh, like this week has been kind of like, you know, I've been like here. I haven't been here. I haven't been here. I've been here, you know, and I'm not going to say just this week, but this week it was really strong, like a strong pull. I was telling Capitoria, I'm going to be very transparent that I will be starting sessions with a therapist. And some people kind of shy away from that or don't want to go to a therapist because they think that's a bad thing. But I know I need therapy. It's a lot that's happened right now. So many people go through so much. These last 2 years, it's been a lot, right? So I know that I need to see a therapist, and I know I need to go back and watch what I missed on here, because it is like I've seen majority of the videos, but some I need to go back and like just be in that and not doing other things, just be in that, because I've heard some great things that I know would be so valuable to me and what I'm going through. So, and I know it's just not me, I know it's others as well that are going through some of the same things. But Capitoria has been truly a blessing. Dr. Marlena as well. Miss Debbie Brown always coming with something good to say, right? But some people need some, you know, that get through. I tell Capitoria, you don't know. Like, I'll tell her, but I don't think she really know. Like, you really keep me up, you know. Like, come on, girl, hold on. Come on, you know. And I definitely appreciate that and love you for that, because it has been a trying time, right? I put on a little lipstick, a little something, just a little bit, but I haven't done that in such a long time. It's been such a long time. I put on my girlfriend, you know, I haven't put my girlfriend on in a while, you know, so it's that made me feel a little better. Sometimes you got to do things that you know will make you feel better. You know, sometimes you may have an outfit that just bring you up, lift you up. So if you're going through something, you need to go ahead and tap into, listen, girl, listen, Linda, listen, Lisa. What's going to help you for what take you to that happy place? It may be a song. Maybe you can listen to that song 10 times on repeat. I will do it. You know, and it lifts you up. Maybe, you know, if you get real cute or you're cute, you know, long as you cute to you, that's all that matter. That may lift you up. You know, I when I was texting just not long ago, and Kels was saying how she was just going through some of the old texts from Zakaria, right? And I was like, well, I know that was some emotions there. She was like, good ones though, you know. So we want to be mindful of what we leave behind, you know. And it's so crazy because Zakaria talked about that all the time. You know, you building your story. And I was just thinking about some things earlier, like your main focus, your goal is to become a better you every day. Work on, no matter how minute that is, whatever it is, continue to focus on being a better you. And being a better you mean you have to feel good on the inside too. So whatever it takes, whatever you got to listen to, whatever you got to read, you know, hopefully everyone gets Chad Helmstedter's book, you know, and read that, Capitoria's book, because it's just not about relationships with your spouse or your mate. It's with friends as well. I was a horrible friend and I didn't know that till later. You know, you judging people because people not like you. You know, just so many different elements to this whole thing. But the focus is on being a better version of yourself, and some stuff we just gotta come to terms with or find a better way to deal with it, like the loss and things of that nature. One of my go-tos is NRG. Okay, this
Yeah.
helped me feel good, right? I
Yeah.
won't lie either. The CMOS does too.
Mm-hmm.
Let me grab that because I gotta take it. I haven't taken my stuff. Only thing I had, as always, is my coffee. But this too, this gives me a pick me up. Not only do I feel good, but this, and this.
I knew you had to put NutriBurst on the table.
Woo! You know, these do help me. They help me. And a lot of times, and I won't say, I will not, I can't not mention chaga. I feel it when I don't have these things, like later on down the, throughout the day, I be like, dang, I feel so bad, or I just don't want to do nothing. I just don't want to get up. And when I think about it, it's like, yeah, absolutely. I think about it, it's, I didn't have anything, or I didn't have my chaga, you know. So you got to find your go-to, what helped you feel good, and that NRG works up here, chaga works everywhere, so and then sometimes you get to that point, and I know I did, where you just don't want to feel good. Have you ever gone through a breakup and you want to listen to the saddest songs?
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear the saddest songs? It's just gonna make you no. You got to listen to what make you feel good. You got to tell yourself and trick yourself, saying, I feel good, I'm good, I'm amazing. So these are the things I have to do, just letting y'all in. And it's been a journey. It's still a journey, and I'm happy to be on this journey. It's a journey, right, Stacy? I think I've done that, and I got me some more Blossom A. Let's not forget about Blossom A, ladies. Ladies, if you don't have this, you better get you some Blossom A, baby. You're gonna feel like them flowers over there. You're just blooming. Okay, so I'm just like, what I need, I had to talk with Stacy, like I gotta get the pick me up kit. I gotta get everything. I gotta take everything that's gonna make me feel good, So now I'm about to take me some Blossom A. I'm about to take my NRG, but I'm also gonna make sure I take my Matrix, because, ladies, I have been losing hair. Like, my hair just shed, but it's past shedding. That's falling out, right? So I know that I haven't been taking in enough protein. Right. So I'm going to definitely get back to my Matrix over there somewhere. Yeah. So get back to that. And because it's crazy. I don't eat beef, pork, or seafood. So it's a lot of stuff I don't eat, but it's a lot of bad stuff I love, like French fries. Hi, my name is Jaja, and I'm addicted to French fries. Right. I love French fries. I love bread. So, but I got to get that protein in, and that's what I'm going to do with that Matrix. And that also helped with so many different things too, like all our products do. So Matrix definitely help. The ingredients help with anxiety. So, and things of that sort. So get with that. And I think that's all. Unless you got a question for me.
Well, I
got a question.
Go ahead.
How about this, ladies? So we know that, okay. So for those who don't know, my sister was 27 years old when she passed. It was in a fire, right? And she was a jokester. She was a big jokester. And because of the fire, we weren't ever able to see her, right?
Right.
We didn't get a chance to see her or anything like that. So I still feel like she would show up to the door and be like, I was just playing, and it's like, is that a problem that I feel that way? Like, Am I supposed? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this, girl? Do
Well,
you need some deep therapy or what?
I'm
You
gonna
know.
add. I'm gonna add, Jaja, actually, that howbeit it is first that which is spiritual, then that which is natural. Because I feel like she still shows up. She shows up when you're able to get up and do the things like take your Blossom. She shows up when you're able to get up out the bed and take NRG because she loved the products. She shows up. Am I overmodulating? Because she said I was low, so I'm talking a little higher. I'm okay. Okay. She shows up every time your nephew comes over and calls you and says, I want to spend some time with you, TT.
TT.
She
She
shows up.
shows up.
Okay, I don't know
Okay,
why
I
I'm
don't know
hearing
why I'm
echo.
hearing echo.
It's not me because I don't have anything else on. She shows up in a lot of ways, actually. So I don't think that's unrealistic. You may not see her physically, naturally, but you see her showing up on those pop-ups. You see her showing up when Kelly say, I was watching these videos and it made me laugh. You see her. So yeah, she does show up. She does show up. Absolutely. So, and Ernest shows up. Man, I tell you, I'll be watching something. Wait a minute, hold on. I got you, Deborah. One day I was in the room with the door closed and my door turned. I heard something touching my knob and my door opened. And so I said, okay, that's my mother or my son. I went out the room to see who was here. There was nobody here.
Mhm.
And I said, Ernest, look, I can't be dealing with you today.
That's
So the
that's
point I'm getting at is they always show up. They show up when you show up. So no, I don't think it's unrealistic to expect it. It's just the joke. She gonna show up, and she is showing up. While you drinking that NutriBurst, she's showing up because you wouldn't even know about the NutriBurst if it wasn't for her.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
Well, you know what? Can I say something?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm going through a transition. We'll put it like that. But last night, when you talk about somebody showing up, my other half of 24 years, he showed up. I said, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? His name was Larry. I said, Larry, why are you doing this to me? He was putting the cover over me. This is last night, this morning, early this morning. And it's a funny thing, as Jaja was talking, Jaja, I'm on the same track kind of because I'm going to get a therapist once I transition to where I'm going. Because I feel it would be beneficial. Because when you lose somebody that's a part of you and they're in your heart, it's hard if you can't talk to somebody or you can't, as Capitoria did, she put hers in a book. So she has it down on paper. It's in a book. I haven't written a book yet. So I've got to you have to release it because you can't carry it with you. And that person that you lost, that you care about, they're with you. I just believe that. And it was proven to me as far as I'm concerned this morning. They're with you. And the only thing you have to do is just keep going forward and think about you first, and then everything else will fall in place. That's not being selfish. You're thinking about you have to be number one. And if you're number one, then everybody else will get what they need because you're there to help others. You're there to love others. And the person that you lost would not want you to not love somebody else, whatever it is. And you have to just keep thinking positive and keep moving forward. You can't stop. You can't be stagnant. As I said earlier, you have to keep moving forward because that's an important thing. And what I'd like for you to do, Capitoria, if you would, could you put them two books in the streaming or whatever that you talked about? The one about the eating and the one about the uh, the last one, 365
Okay.
365 days of something and the 101 days or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know, because all of us need something to help us. You know, as Jaja was saying, see this? I just finished taking me one of these. Okay, that's what I just did. See this? I'm getting ready to take some of this. It's right here with me. Now, you just taught me something I didn't know. I haven't been taking the Blossom A because I thought because of my age, I didn't need to take it. But you know what? It doesn't matter about your age. It doesn't matter about your age. That I know. So I'm going to start taking Blossom A. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to start doing, I'm going to make that protein shake because I don't get enough protein. Now, I'm a bread eater too. So I had to back up off the bread because I've lost weight. I don't want to gain it back from eating the wrong things. So I'm going to make me some shakes. Just like Capricorn be making them smoothies and stuff. I'm going to make me some of those too because I got it right here. Okay, you talk about it. Here it is. See, I want you to know I got my product. I'm ready to go. I'm not playing, you know. And what I'm going through, it's going to get better because you know what? I'm going to say this. I hope nobody gets offended. But God's in control. And as long as you keep him in the forefront of everything you're doing, you're going to get everything you need. Because I truly believe that he has shown mercy and grace because he wakes me up every morning. That's who wakes me up. And without him, we couldn't do anything. So that's all I want to say. And thank you for listening.
That was
Okay.
good.
Okay, so I want to add some things because we need to close this out. We can come back with part 2 another time because apparently this is a subject that needs some more time with it. But I want to, before we do this, I want to acknowledge 2 things that children grieve too. A lot of times we put children in a corner and say, you know, they don't understand and they need to be able to express their heart too. And you think it doesn't matter to them, but it does. So I also have books to help children. I want to encourage you all to do a project together. Do a project in the name of your loved one. At the holidays, do something that represents who they were. Maybe, I don't know, make a meal, that a dish that they loved, and it makes them present in your holiday season. Create, maybe decorate a chair or something, whatever. It doesn't have to be a chair. It could be a box. It could be anything. You decide what's good for you all to do and bring your loved one into wherever you are. That also helps you to go through the grieving, the mourning process. So here is a book, Saying Goodbye. And this here, and I'll put the names of these books after we get out of this session and the authors. This is a good book for children to teach them how to say goodbye. Help me to say goodbye. This is another one. And again, I'll put the name and the authors of the books that I use in the comment section. Here's another one, The Memory Box. The Memory Box. This is a book about grief. And it's a book, it talks about creating a memory box so that you can take, for instance, if you all went to the beach together, go to the beach where you went to and collect some of the sand and put it in a memory box. That helps you to remember your loved one in this. And these are just some things that you can do to help you through. But I also, on the last part of this, I want to give some shameless plugs. I'm talking about grief, yes, but I'm also talking about people that survive storms in life. So get a copy of the book, When the Rain Falls, the Flower Blooms. That's written by me. I have actual copies that you can get or from me, and I will mail them to you. But you'd have to send me the money before I do that. So you can inbox me if you're interested in doing that. A lot of stories of my husband and I are in this book. This is a tribute to our love together, and that's not it. I also have, these are 3 authors that are within our group. Rediscovering Your Destiny. Who is that by? Dr. Marlena. There you go. Dr. Marlena tells the story of how you can come back to life after some of the hardest times in your life. These are things she was actually gone for, how long was it, Dr. Marlena?
Unmute.
I actually quoted twice on the operating table and spent 80 days in a coma. My cocoon of rediscovery. Yeah. So you need
So
to read about that.
this is all about welcome to your new normal, your new life,
Noon.
your new normal.
And
Both of these books.
the subtitle is, we talk about the title, Rediscovering Your Destiny, but the subtitle is the power of possibilities and how to rediscover the inevitable. See, reinvent the inevitable. Life's gonna happen, but it's what we've been talking about. Once you get past that, through the grief cycle, and even in the midst of the grief cycle, rediscovering what purpose God has for you will help you get into that acceptance and move forward with your life.
And one of the things that I did was I actually took what I knew that my husband and I talked about doing together, and I
Yeah.
began to bring life to it.
Yes.
Well, I redecorated a lot of the rooms in my house because
Mhm.
it was something that we talked about doing, and we were in the plans of doing it before he came back home. So I found ministry and healing and moving forward and doing things that I know he and I both wanted. And I'm going to find memory and ministry in being able to do the finish the 50 states, visiting the 50 states, because we went to 30. And so I got 20 more to visit. Why? Because that was a journey we were taking together. And the last shameless plug is Dr. Janice Hooker Fortman's book, The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train.
Right. Yes.
And I'm gonna read the subtitle: The Relationship Between Mom, Daughter, and the Aging Mothers, and their aging mothers, the adult daughter and their aging mothers. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes that's difficult, and you have to learn how to maneuver this journey as well. You know,
Mhm.
you may not look at it and say it's about grieving or mourning, and yet when you don't have a good relationship with your mother, it is there's a missing piece, there's a missing link. So all of these books are about helping you to become your best self. Okay,
That's
1 minute for the last word. Start with Deborah, Dr. Marlena, then we're going to close it out because we're coming right back in 30 minutes with Robbie. Deborah, unmute. You're muted.
My way of closing it out is this: think positive, be positive, and what you say, whatever it is, you can always turn it around. And if somebody comes to you that's negative, you know, you got to learn how to say, listen, if you can't be positive around me, then I can't have you around me because I'm moving forward and negativity is not a part of my life.
Your
Thank you.
Your
programming
programming
matters.
matters.
Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Jaja.
Jaja.
Last word.
Last words.
Oh, I was
Oh, I was
listening.
listening.
Oh, I thought that's somebody else's ring. That's you, Dr. Marlena.
That must have been mine. I think somebody's at my doorbell.
I keep looking like, is that somebody at the door? But do what you got to do to keep your spirits up. I was over here. I went to shake my I made me a dream sickle with some immunity and some matrix, and I shook it and it went everywhere. Oh, but it wasn't as bad, but it could have been worse. Yeah, do what make you feel good. Sometimes it take everything out of you, but sometimes you got to just get things in balance too, because your body, what's lacking. Like, I have not had this, and I can feel that I have not had this. Debbie, I'm going to need you to take a look at what's in Blossomate and why you need it. Okay, every woman need this, So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, and I know I'm supposed to be closing. I'm closing. I'm going to be gone. What was I going through? I was going through something. They're like, you need some black cohosh. I was like, I know, and it's on the way. So people going out to get all these different things, especially women who are going through the changes. But hey, my body been going through changes for a very long time, like hormone imbalance, estrogen, and too much estrogen. This right here can help, can assist. And I knew I needed it. And I was just like, I'm tired of being in this place that I'm in, because it was a struggle, seeing Stacy on the floor, I didn't know if she was going to make it. And I think I was running off adrenaline for 2 months, right? So I didn't realize that. You don't realize these things, and you just going, and that was me. I was just going, and just the beginning of it all, to be back in a whole nother, what do you call this, a crazy situation, traumatic situation. It was something, right? I wasn't taking my products. I was just going to the hospital, and then before I couldn't spend the night, I would have to come home. When I would come home, I wouldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. And I would call the hospital every hour to see how she was doing. I ran on the same thing when my mom was in the hospital, from December to just about May. I was there just about every single day. And there I was again. So when I say I need therapy, it's a lot of stuff that I need to get out, right? And do that to it. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's you. And sometimes you can hear the same thing, but you can hear from one person and just like activate. So if you know somebody's negative, move around. You move around or ask them to move around. But the best thing to do is you just move around. So don't be around anybody negative, someone who, or maybe they don't even know that they being negative. You got some people, and I was that person who used to just be negative and didn't even know, why you doing this? And why you doing that? Why you didn't do it this way? So, and I'm consistently working on me. But right now, you just need to be lifted up. So you need to be around that person, or call that person who always got something good to say. Go be around that person who's always going to lift your spirits, right? And if you need something to make you feel good and you ain't got none of what we got, you need to get with one of us and get what we got. So you can feel good and go out 2021 with a bang. Peace and love, everyone.
Zsa, that was Zachariah showing up again when your dreamsicle went all over.
Probably, because y'all know that I don't even be I ain't the best with going live, talking. That ain't my thing.
Well, that was Zachariah showing up again. Dr. Marlena.
Okay.
You talk about it.
Okay. Somebody got me echoing. There we go. Okay. So, I don't know why I'm echoing. Let me. Kervin, are you still standing there? It's amazing. Technology always want to act up, but you know what? I'm one that will always push through with technology. But what I wanted to say, I'm just sitting here listening, and I'm so blessed to even be up, because the last 2 days I have been down. The fire started in my stomach, and I took the meds, and they put me down. So for 2 days, and they're designed to do that. So once you take them, they make you sleepy, and I guess you are able to get a good rest. So when I woke up this morning, the first text I got said that we are winners because we are in Christ Jesus. So I want to say amen to that. But what I really want to address just real quick is I heard Deborah and I heard John that both say they're going to get into therapy. And it's amazing how we attach sort of a negative connotation to therapy, because many people won't do that. We will work on our physical bodies real quick. Take the meds, go to the doctor, do that. But it's something we avoid is our mental health. And our mental health is really where everything is. In our unconscious mind. See, our bodies are the robots. Our bodies, if it wasn't for our unconscious mind telling our hearts to beat and our blood to flow, and for that function, our bodies would have nothing. So we have to be able to take good health and good care, mental health of our minds. And it starts in our unconscious minds. And so I applaud you, ladies, for saying, I know I need to go to a therapist. And what happens in therapy is that you get in alignment with what God has for you because someone has studied human behavior and they're able to circle back and say to you as you talk to them, maybe, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And it helps you to align your thoughts and your feelings. Everything we do is from our emotions, and then we back it up with logic and reasons. And being in therapy, whether it's with me as a mindset development expert, looking over the past and breaking those chains and talking about those emotions that so you can live in your now, because this is really what we have. Or going and sitting on a psychologist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, sorry, can't get it out, couch. We bring in all that negative programming that others have to say about it. It's not about them, it's about your choice and what God has given you as an instrument, the therapist, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, mindset development, as resources to get you back in alignment so you can break unhealthy patterns that are not serving you any well. So whoever's out there listening to this and you are in need of some order in your life, that's why we're here to encourage you to get into that positive space, not only with your self-talk. If you need a little bit more, get in alignment so you can live your best life, so you can wake up today and know that you have won life and go about what God would have as your purpose, and so you can live passionately every day. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marlena. Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you so much, Jaja. And thank God, because this is I think, a topic that is on his
Yeah.
heart for
Yeah.
the people right now. And
Mhm.
notice we got join us and Out with the Bang, this 15-day challenge,
Yeah.
December the 7th through the 22nd. And we're having sessions at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. And we'll
Mhm.
just let you know when we do something in between. My last words, Jaja pointed to Blossome and the flower. The
Mhm.
flower, if I remember correctly, is yellow. And God said, put on yellow today as you do this session,
Okay.
because
Okay.
yellow is a sign of the sun shining. So
Yes.
it's not
Woo!
just the SUN, but the SON is
Yes.
shining on you to give you hope. And He is the
Mhm.
God of all comfort.
Oh,
So whatever it is that you need, tap into His resources, tap into the people that He connect you with. Tap into these Out with the Bang sessions, because our job, what we're here to do, is to help you to become your best self. And that's all these sessions are designed to do. So we'll
mhm.
be right back here at 1 o'clock with Robbie. I want to tell you what her topic is: financial wealth. But man, the way she set that up, boy, she gonna throw down something fierce, and you will enjoy that. And at 6 o'clock, you're gonna see Jaja and Miss Butter. You don't want to miss them. They're talking about health and fitness. 6 p.m. Jaja. 6 p.m. today, Jaja. 6 p.m. today, Jaja. Yes, let me move you off the screen because you're not cooperating. Thank you. So
Did
here
she
we
just
are.
throw me to the back of the stage?
I put you on the back of the bus. I Zakaria is showing up again. Okay, she's showing up again. So thank you all for joining us
Thank
for
you.
this impromptu session. I want you all to let us know, would you like to see more of this talking about grief and mourning? You want to see some more of this in our 15-day session? Debbie, I'm gonna put you on the back of the bus in a minute because I'm not trying to see the frowns on the top of your head. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Step back. Step back. Thank you. So we want to know if this meant something to you. Please share it. If you have any questions, send us some questions and let us begin to help you through. But join our Facebook page, Out with the Bang, And we're going to keep on coming to you with other sessions. The next one you'll hear will be about, do it again, Deborah. Out with a bang. Come on, Marlena.
Out
Come
with
on, Jaja.
That's right.
Out with a bang.
Out
We'll
with
be
a
back at 1 o'clock. Just about 20 minutes from now. I ain't even got a chance to braid my hair. So I'll be coming back looking like I look. Jaja, I need one of those cute things, your hairstyles. So bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Let the sun shine. And we love you. Be encouraged and know that you're not alone on this journey to a new life. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.